In a stunning and deeply curious turn of events out of California, a sealed labor case linked to Meghan Markle and her mother, Doria Ragland, has sent shockwaves through both the legal community and the entertainment world. While details remain hidden behind closed court doors, what little has emerged has been enough to ignite a firestorm of questions and speculation about secrecy, power, and the elusive line between privacy and accountability. The court's rare decision to seal the case, particularly one involving labor and employment, has only added fuel to the mystery, especially when one considers that this case did not revolve around a typical high-profile celebrity dispute. No, this time, the intrigue revolves around Meghan's mother and what may have quietly been unfolding in the background for years. So let's lay out what we do know with certainty. Doria Ragland operates a business called Loving Kindness in Your Care Management. At face value, it appears to be a caregiving company, something community-based, potentially admirable, and rooted in support for elderly clients or those in medical need. However, digging into publicly available records reveals a jarring fact. The business lists no employees, no licensed caregivers under its umbrella, and no physical business address tied to standard commercial activity. This is not just a small operation. It appears to be effectively a one-woman company in name only. No sign of infrastructure, no evidence of scale. And yet, this company is now connected to a labor case that is significant enough to be sealed by California courts. Why would a case like that need to be sealed? Labor disputes are often publicly accessible unless they involve sensitive medical details or matters of national or state concern. But in this case, sources close to the legal community in California confirm that the state government became involved. A highly unusual level of oversight for a case that appears on the surface to be private and domestic. Legal experts we spoke to say such intervention often points to two possibilities. Either the case involves the potential for broader criminal violations like labor trafficking, exploitation, or falsification of employment records. Or it involves public figures with enough political pull to trigger extreme confidentiality protections. And in this case, it could be both. Let's be clear, these are not accusations. These are questions arising from a series of facts. The fact is that Doria Ragland has been operating a business that shows no signs of operational transparency. The fact is that this business is now under legal scrutiny in a sealed case. The fact is that Meghan Markle's name appears linked in the procedural filings, although her specific involvement is redacted in public documents. That much is not speculation. That much has been confirmed through legal databases accessible by press investigators. And here's where things take a deeper, murkier turn. Following Meghan Markle's entry into the British royal family, Doria's financial standing changed dramatically. Prior to Meghan's rise to global stardom, Doria worked modest jobs in the social work and yoga instruction fields. Noble work, but not exactly pathways to multi-million-dollar wealth. Yet by 2020, Doria's net worth was rumored to have ballooned to over $9 million. While Meghan has always defended her mother's independence, questions have lingered about how this wealth was acquired, particularly as Doria never publicly capitalized on her daughter's fame in the traditional Hollywood way, with interviews, books, brand deals, or speaking engagements. Instead, her wealth appears to have emerged quietly, almost silently from somewhere. Critics and observers have asked, could the business have served as a shell? Could it have played a role in channeling funds or managing assets related to Meghan's complex post-royal finances? Now, some of these theories do veer into the speculative realm, and we want to be cautious here. There is no hard evidence at this moment tying Doria's net worth directly to illicit activity. That is important to say. But when such a large labor case is sealed and government officials step in, when public records about a business are essentially void and the person behind it has recently become inexplicably wealthy, the questions become too important to ignore. The case might reveal nothing, or it might reveal everything. And let's not forget the royal family context. Meghan and Harry have long claimed their exit from royal duties was about privacy, protection from media harassment, and a desire to live a more authentic life away from the palace's archaic constraints. But what if there was another motivation behind the scenes? Some investigative journalists now speculate that the couple's increasing isolation, their carefully choreographed media appearance, their tightly controlled interviews, wasn't just about escaping scrutiny, but about managing it. If legal troubles involving Meghan's family were brewing for years, shielding that from press coverage would have been paramount. And if Meghan is named in this sealed labor case, as some anonymous court sources suggest, the narrative of her moral high ground could shift dramatically. Now, let's talk about the very real concern of fake news. There have been false reports circulating online suggesting that Doria Ragland has been arrested in connection with this case. That is not true. At the time of this recording, there's no verified evidence that Doria has been arrested, charged, or formally accused of any crime. Those viral posts are fabricated and do not align with legal filings or any official police records. The case is sealed, not because arrests have been made, but because the implications of its content may be extremely sensitive. That distinction matters. At the same time, a very real and verified detail that adds to the murkiness is the bizarre history surrounding Doria's own father, Alvin Ragland. Public records show a deeply fragmented family tree, with conflicting information about his professional background and cause of death. Some reports allege that his passing was shrouded in inconsistencies, ranging from undocumented health conditions to unlisted death records. Again, nothing has been proven, and there's no official investigation into his death. But for a family so fiercely protective of its privacy, these shadowy pieces of history only deepen the intrigue. Could the roots of this case stretch back further than we think? And here's where the story pulls back into Meghan's court. If Meghan Markle, an ex-royal global media figure and declared feminist, is in any way complicit or connected to a labor rights violation, the consequences could be devastating, not just legally, but reputationally. Meghan has positioned herself as a champion of worker protections, equity, and ethical leadership. She gave speeches on women's empowerment, supported non-profit causes, and spoke openly about injustices she faced in the royal household. But if this sealed case were to reveal that labor rights were violated under her family's watch, or worse, that financial structures were used to conceal employee relations or worker mistreatment, that would strike at the very core of her carefully built public persona. Supporters of Meghan will point out, rightly, that she has long been the target of media vendettas, exaggerated tabloid stories, and racially charged headlines. And that context must be acknowledged. However, this case is not being driven by tabloids. It is being driven by the California Superior Court system, by labor law attorneys, and by state-level legal officials. That's not a gossip mill, that's real governance. In fact, legal analysts are beginning to debate whether this case could become a landmark in how sealed labor disputes involving public figures are handled in the future. Labor advocates argue that the public has a right to know whether companies, even celebrity-run or family-owned businesses, are violating employment standards. Others say sealing such cases only protects the rich and well-connected from accountability. And if the case ends without a transparent resolution, it could open new discussions about how labor law enforcement intersects with celebrity privilege. It's also worth noting that despite the sealed case, Meghan and Doria have not released any statement to the public. No denial, no clarification, no acknowledgement, and that silence is frankly deafening. Public relations experts often advise saying nothing when legal matters are ongoing, but this strategy may backfire in the court of public opinion. Already, Meghan's critics are using this as ammunition, saying her so-called transparency has always been selective. And what of Harry? The Duke of Sussex, though not involved in the case, remains closely tied to Meghan's public image. His efforts to rebrand as a media entrepreneur, mental health advocate, and environmentalist could suffer collateral damage if this scandal expands. The couple's billion-dollar brand, built on authenticity, truth-telling, and principled exits, could be in serious jeopardy. Let's also confront a chilling possibility. What if this labor case is just the beginning? If the sealed documents reveal mismanagement, shell companies, or wage violations, regulators might open broader investigations. Other business entities, trusts, and LLCs tied to the Markle family could come under review. Doria's company is not the only one registered under variations of wellness or caregiving. Several similar companies have quietly emerged in the past 5 years, often under overlapping names or vague mission statements. Could there be a larger structure behind this than we realize? And we must return once again to the court's behavior. Sealing a case is a drastic move. Doing so in a labor case is rarer still. But when the case involves high-profile individuals, unregistered employment, possible financial irregularities, and sudden unexplained wealth, the dots begin to connect. This is not about attacking Meghan or her mother. It is about accountability, consistency, and whether celebrity status should shield anyone from scrutiny, even when serious labor laws might be involved. For now, the sealed case remains sealed, but whispers have turned to headlines, and those headlines are now being dissected by legal teams, advocacy groups, and journalists worldwide. The longer Meghan and Doria remain silent, the louder the questions will become. This isn't just about celebrity drama. It's about law, transparency, and how far the reach of influence really extends behind velvet curtains and multi-million-dollar estates. In the coming weeks, eyes will be watching the California courts. Legal motions may unearth redacted documents. Whistleblowers or ex-employees may come forward. The public will demand clarity, but one thing is now clear. The story Meghan Markle thought she could keep sealed is already broken open. Stay tuned. This is just the beginning.